It's been 11 months. What was supposed to have been a 3-month stay in the boatyard has turned into 11 months of endless boat work. When we arrived at sunrise to St. Augustine, where Nauti Dream was ready to be pulled out of the water for some routine maintenance and exciting upgrades, little did we know the toll which would be exacted to return her to the life far from land. Here is our harrowing tale of what seemed like imprisonment in the boatyard, and ultimately, our path of escape. What do you get when you put an accountant and a software developer on a sailboat?
That sounds like the start of a pretty funny joke.
Well, if it is, then the joke is on us.
Hello, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Daniel. Together, we have left our land-loving ways in search of beautiful islands, pristine waters, and incredible sunsets.
So join us as we battle storms, catch food, and put our survival skills to the test.
This is going to be a journey of epic proportions. This is Sailing Nauti Dream. If you've been following our adventure from where we started in St. Lucia, you've seen the incredible places we've visited and been part of our adventures along the way. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and get caught up on our previous videos. We are sure it seemed to our followers like we fell off the face of the planet since our last episode, and believe me, it felt like that for us as well. We watched as other sailing channels knocked out jobs left and right on their boats, while our progress was limited to evening and weekends due to our regular Monday through Friday 9-to-5 jobs. When other channels were finishing the day because the sun was setting and the bugs were starting to bite, that's when our time at the boatyard was just starting. 1 month started to roll into the next, and the list of projects soon became our path of escape from what seemed like a waterless prison for Nauti Dream. We need an escape plan to get Nauti Dream from being high and dry in the boatyard back to the water. Our first obstacle in our escape plan is to address the drive system on Nauti Dream. For this, we need to convince Drivetrain Dan to address the engine and sail drive. The engine has developed a small leak in the raw water cooling system, which started while sailing around the Bahamas. The turbo seized back in Puerto Rico, causing thick black exhaust and loss of power anytime the RPMs are over 2,000. The starter decides not to work every once in a while since we left Florida for the Bahamas, which is cause for concern when we really need to motor in tight spots. The sail drive is 7 years old and due for new seals and the big rubber gasket which seal the hole where the sail drive passes through the bottom of the boat. Drivetrain Dan fixed the raw water leak by replacing the gaskets, O-rings, and hoses. The 2 intercoolers are cleaned while everything is dismantled. The turbo has seized due to a buildup of carbon on the fan blades and basically welded the blades to the housing so they no longer rotate. Drivetrain Dan was able to take the turbo apart, clean it up, rebuild it, and mount it back on the engine. Good as new. We end up replacing the starter as well as the starter battery. For the sail drive, Drivetrain Dan was able to unbolt the lower unit, which is outside the boat. The lower half gets new drive shaft seals, O-rings, and finished with layers of primer and anti-fouling paint. To get the upper half of the sail drive, we need to unbolt the sail drive from the engine, unbolt the engine mounts from the boat, and move the engine forward to have barely enough room to get the sail drive out. The upper unit gets cleaned up, new mounts and new rubber gaskets before it gets remounted to the engine and boat. We threw on new motor mounts and all new hoses as an added measure. Finishing the drivetrain system is a huge step in getting Nauti Dream back in the water. While working on the escape plan, we did have several projects to improve the quality of life once Nauti Dream is back in the water. For this, we called in the specialists, Dapper Dan and Lynn Tastic. The most noticeable of these upgrades is the new dining table in the salon. It was difficult to find all the right pieces of wood, but with some resin and imagination, we created a pirate treasure map themed table. The table turned out beautifully and has become an eye-catching centerpiece below deck. Our freezer, set in the galley counter, has not worked since we bought Nauti Dream. We've used it as extra storage space, but it was an easy decision when we started looking for a place to mount a washing machine. After cutting out the freezer, we took careful measurements of the space below the counter to find a small washing machine which would fit. We did have to modify the washing machine to the point where we now refer to it as R2, due to the resemblance. Along with a new refrigerator and several custom drawers to finish up the project, it looks pretty much the same as it did before. With new faucets in the galley and heads, new hoses throughout the boat, new pumps, seals, and backflow valves on the toilets, that pretty much covers the work done below deck. Now come the big jobs on our escape plan, the bottom of the boat. At 7 years old, it's time for new through holes and bottom paint. The rudder bearings and housing need repair. The bow thruster needs servicing, a damaged power cable needs replaced, and the propellers need replaced. The hull to deck joint extends below the waterline and is sealed with 5200. Along this joint, a plastic bumper was installed at some point with screws long enough to go clear through the transom. The screws are corroded to the point of allowing water in. Imagine 20 plus little holes in the bottom of your boat. For this we need a team, and we call in the big guns, Daninator and Lil Lynn. We remove the old bronze through holes, add layers of fiberglass to the inner hull for additional thickness and reinforcement before we install the flush mounted composite through holes. Since this is a new to us boat and has gone through 7 years of various bottom paints, we decide to strip it down to the gel coat. This allows us to know what kinds of products have been used and how many layers. Having the primer and paint removed gives us a great opportunity to fiberglass the bow thruster housing to make it seamless. The rudder has a small amount of play which we reset the upper and lower rudder bearings to fix. For the transom, we remove the plastic bumper, drill out and fill the screw holes, and remove the 3200 sealant around the hull joints before we fiberglass it all in from the outside. As part of this project, we design and build out a small step, which can be used when the swim platform is no longer lowered. This upgrade has already been the single most useful upgrade we've made so far. We fondly refer to this upgrade as Little Spoon. Layers and layers of primer and layers of anti-fouling paint are applied. We install the new bow thruster propellers as well as the new gory folding propeller on the sail drive. With the bottom of the boat ready to go back in the water, there's one final piece to this escape plan: the top side of Nauti Dream. We can work on the top side of Nauti Dream while she is in the water, but there are just some things which would be easier while on land. For this we bring in the professionals, Dan the Man and Lynn Spired. A thorough buffing, polishing, and wax to make Nauti Dream shine. All new stripes, decals, and graphics add a finished look. New teak steps on the transom. Your head may be spinning from all this work in the boatyard.
Just making it look all sparkly.
Yep. got some new art today.
There are so many thoughts and feelings going on as Nauti Dream gets lifted from her resting place and moved back to the water. We know all the projects are not complete, but we are proud of what we've done.
There she goes. Off to the water. Gotta say, this is a little bit nerve-wracking. Boats aren't meant to be out of the water like this. First time in the water after 11 months of being on shore.
Now it's time to get moving, and this time we are heading north. Thank you for watching this episode. Please like and subscribe to our channel to follow along as we now set our sights on Nova Scotia. It's going to be an awesome adventure and we'll be taking you with us. Thank you for being part of our journey.